Welcome everyone to tonight's post-match media availability following Nashville SC's 1-0 loss at Chicago Fire. As a reminder, please alert me through the chat or utilize the hand raise function if you have a question. We will start with Ben Wright.
BJ, I'm just curious what it's like, obviously conceding, I think, 17 seconds into the match. I'm sure that kind of just is maybe throws some things off as in terms of just what you've planned for the match. What did you make of that, and I guess how you responded to going down so early?
Yeah, I mean, I think you give Chicago credit. They came out right away with high intensity and press. It's something that we spoke about and talked about. But again, it's a mistake, and those things happen, and we move on. I thought the team in the first half settled in. Obviously, there's the conditions today with the wind and everything. You could see it played the tale of two halves. But really, just the group. The group competed. Some areas that we need to get better in. But I thought there was maybe a couple of chances out there to score an equalizer.
We'll move to Jacob Shames.
Yeah, BJ, this season you have scored 17 goals in 5 matches across all competitions at Geodis and just 4 goals in 5 games away from Geodis across all competitions. What does that discrepancy come down to in your eyes, and what do you feel can be maybe done about it?
I think for us, it's just about being more clinical in our finishing. Even tonight, I thought there was a couple chances out there that we could have had. And we lacked, I think, a little bit of sharpness, just in and around sort of the attacking side of the middle third and the final third. But again, there was a couple moments out there that I thought we could have gotten a little more out of the game.
We'll move to Valère.
Yeah, BJ, speaking of that sharpness, how much of that do you attribute to maybe the international break, and just not having the consistent games that you were used to, or is any of that attributed to that little break?
We're not going to make any excuses. Everybody in the league had the same break. So again, I give Chicago a lot of credit for coming out and with intensity, pressing, really, really dangerous in transition. I thought they defended well. They really defended the penalty box well. And for us, we needed to be able to match that intensity, match the speed of play, and be sharp. For periods of time, I thought it was there, and other periods, I thought it was lacking. And it's again an opportunity for us to kind of still get our rhythm and continue to improve and turn it around for Tuesday.
We'll move to Nick Frazier.
BJ, when it came to the attacking third, talking about the sharpness there, it just seemed like when you guys would try to work through the middle and find some space and push it out wide and bring it back into the middle and across, it seemed like Chicago kind of had that number where they had majority of their guys back into their inside their own defensive third. How do you dissect that, and were you kind of expecting that after the first goal? And do you think your team, I guess, had enough chances tonight to at least get 1 goal on the goal sheet?
Yeah, again, I think Greg does a great job with his team. They're well organized in all phases. Their ability to defend the penalty box and defend the space above the penalty box is really good. I thought we had moments where we were able to move the ball and get it to kind of get it across the field. But whether it's the execution or just the decision making, maybe patience to keep it, all those little things, I think maybe kept us from creating the volume of chances we wanted to score with. But I still think at the end of the day, there was probably enough out there that we could have gotten 1, and we didn't. And so again, we'll have to. We'll look at it. We'll get better. We'll work at it, and we'll turn it around for Tuesday.
Ben Wright with a follow-up, followed by Jacob Shames.
Yeah, BJ, it looked like, you guys, it seemed, really emphasized kind of the counter press, and it felt like Chicago did the same thing. And it seemed like it just made the game a little bit choppy. Do you feel like the start, especially towards the end, maybe played into their favor a little bit, and how do you feel like you were able to deal with that?
Yeah, I think again, I think the game was physical. The game had intensity. There was transitions. Both teams were counter pressing, like you said. Anytime a whistle happens, the other team can organize. And so it was, you're always now trying to break down an organized group. But we have to be able to manage that, and we have to be able to try and still find opportunities to exploit it. But I think in the most part, there's probably again, I kept saying we could have been a little bit sharper in certain areas.
Yeah. What are the differences in your first loss coming 6 games into the MLS season, 10 games into the season as a whole, versus compared to 2025 when you lost at Red Bulls in your second game of the season? Are there any differences in how the team reacts to that, just considering the starts you've had?
I think we're always disappointed when we lose. We play every game to try and win the game, but at the same time, we don't get too high and we don't get too low. It's a long season. We've got multiple competitions. We'll go back. We'll look at it and we'll use the next 2 days to prepare and turn it around again for Club America. That's what good teams do, and that's the expectation of the group.
Thank you, Coach. We'll be joined shortly by midfielder Matthew Corcoran. Welcome back, everyone. We are joined by midfielder Matthew Corcoran. As a reminder, please use the hand raise function, and we will begin with Valaire.
Hey, Matt. Just how did you feel like you and the team reacted to that very early goal?
Yeah, obviously that's not how we want to start the game in the first, I think, 15 seconds, but I think the reaction was decently positive. I think we pushed the game with a bit of urgency. I don't know if the chances were technically backing that up. Maybe we could have been a little bit cleaner in the final third. But overall, I think the overall reaction was positive. I think we can look back and clean things up a little bit in terms of offensive compactness, limiting transitions, but it was a decent reaction.
We'll move on to Nick Frazier.
Yeah, Matt, when it came to the attacking third tonight and just, little positions and trying to create more chances, BJ kind of mentioned that there were some, flaws that could have been maybe fixed. But how did you see the game overall as you were on the field, and how do you feel coming back after that week of international break for everybody?
Yeah, I think on a personal note, I felt pretty well. Obviously, we'll look back at the game, see what we can do better in the final third. Maybe it's more runs, quicker combinations. I think we could have exploited them on the weak side more. They shifted a lot, and I think accelerating that way and getting on the other side, creating 2v1s against the fullbacks and getting behind the back line could have been more repetitive in those actions. But overall, I think obviously we're disappointed with the loss, but we get to look forward to Tuesday with a big opportunity there.
We'll move on to Jacob Shames.
Yeah, Matt, you guys have scored 17 goals in 5 games across all competitions at Geodis this season and just 4 goals in 5 games away from home. What do you feel that discrepancy in attack and home and away comes down to?
Yeah, in this league, going away, it's never easy. Conditions never easy, but obviously we've seen the talent, we've seen the ability to score goals at home, and I think it's only a matter of time before that translates to away games as well. I don't think that's something we're too worried about. I think that'll come just with more confidence.
We'll go to Valaire with a follow-up.
Yeah, Matt. Chicago obviously played a good game and were able to limit you guys. But overall, what do you think not you personally, but as a team, as a collective, could have done better in attack to create a couple more chances?
Yeah, I think we could have sustained attacks longer. I think when we got them down into the box or around the box, we could have got our back line higher. We could have got our midfield line a little higher. So if any balls bounce out, we're able to kind of suffocate them and keep attacking and keep pushing, where it's kind of like a relentless effect and a relentless attack where they'll struggle to get out of that. But I think we're a little loose for that, which got the game a bit transitional, which they strive at, and we were able to see that.
All right, everyone. Thank you for your time tonight, and we will see you next week ahead of our CONCACAF Champions Cup matchup with Club America.
Thank you, guys.